Welcome to the Pocket. My name is Scooter, and here for you guys today, I got my Week 15 score predictions video. And we're also going to talk about what happened in the Thursday night football game, what my take on was it, and if I got it right. And now, before we get into the video, please leave a like to support the channel and tell me in the comments with some of these close games, did I get it right? Who do you think is going to win? And then if you aren't already, please subscribe. It also supports the channel, and you'll never miss a video. And if you're feeling a little extra generous today, hit that notification bell. You'll never miss a single video. So this week's Thursday night game featured the Rams and the 49ers. It was in San Francisco, and the Vegas projection was 25.75, call it 26, to 22.75, call it 23, right? So that would have been the over, and that would have been a no bet on the San Fran -3 spread. The over-under was set at 48.5. I guess, much like Vegas, I did not know about the rain and monsoon that was going to hit San Francisco during this game, and I predicted the Rams to win 26-24. I was feeling a little bold, a little ambitious. So I thought, I looked back, I spent a lot of extra time looking at this game before I made the pick, and I said, you know what? The Rams beat the 49ers without Puka and without Cup. Now they got them both back. They're coming off a huge win versus the Bills. And even though the 49ers are theoretically more desperate at 6-7, the Rams are desperate too at 7-6. Their season's almost over if they lose that game too. So I said, you know what? I'm going to trust Matthew Stafford. And I guess, not knowing about the rain, it didn't really matter because in the end of the day, the best quarterback made the plays to win. This game was only field goals. It was 6-3 moving into the fourth quarter, and the Rams managed to kick 3 field goals in that quarter to gut out the win. So the Rams moved to 8-6, and they now have a 51% chance of making the playoffs, and they're looking dangerous. And the 49ers, unfortunately for them, dropped to 6-8. So even though they're still technically eligible to make the playoffs, they have a less than 1% chance. They are effectively eliminated from playoff contention as of Thursday. Unfortunate for them, a team I was very high on throughout the year, and I got a lot of hate for it. And you know what? I think I said if any 6-7 team is going to crawl their way out and make the playoffs, it's going to be them. Well, now that they're probably not going to make it, I guess none of them are going to make it. That is, if I remain correct. So that's my recap of the Thursday night game. I did get the money line correct on that. So good start to this week. Let's talk about the rest of the games this week. Starting things off with the Baltimore Ravens at the New York Giants. This game features the largest spread of any game we've seen this season. Baltimore -16.5 with an over-under of 42.5. That's a projection of 29.5 to 13. Baltimore Ravens win. What do I think is going to happen? Well, I too think it is going to be a massacre. I released a longer video. I said I think the Giants might do okay for a half. These younger, more motivated guys who don't get as much playing time, they're going to leave it all out on the field. But eventually the Ravens' talent is going to take over this game, and they're going to make some explosive plays on offense. They're going to bench Lamar by the fourth quarter, and that's going to be all she wrote. Ravens win 33-16. Moving on to our next game, we have the Washington Commanders at the New Orleans Saints. The Commanders are 7.5-point favorites, and there's a 43.5 point over-under. Now, the Commanders are coming off of a bye week, so hopefully they're a little bit more healthy. The 2 weeks preceding that, they got beat by the Cowboys pretty handedly, and then they got their mojo back, and they blew out the Tennessee Titans. The New Orleans Saints, while they did beat the Giants, they beat them by the skin of their teeth, blocking a game-tying field goal and resulting in a score of 14-11. Also, they did lose Derek Carr. So whether it's Spencer Rattler or their other backup, they're not going to have Derek Carr for this game. I don't think they're going to be able to do enough on offense to keep up with the Commanders. So I'm going to take them to win 27-16. That's going to be Washington -7.5, and that is going to be over. No, excuse me. That's going to be under 43.5. Moving on to our next game, we have the Chiefs at the Browns. The Chiefs are 4-point favorites, and there's a 43-point over-under. Now, the Chiefs are projected to win this game 23.5 to 19.5. So actually pretty close, right? I talked in my power rankings video about how I wouldn't even be surprised if the Browns beat a team like the Chiefs. I mean, we saw in the right conditions, they're able to beat a team like the Steelers. So why not the Chiefs, right? So like I said, I could see this being a randomly close game. The Chiefs have only won like 1 2 score game all year. So I actually am going to take Cleveland to cover the spread. So Cleveland plus 4 and under 43. But I'm going to take Kansas City to win 22-20. Moving on to our next game, we have the Cincinnati Bengals traveling to Tennessee to take on the Titans. So the Bengals are 5-point favorites, and there's a 46.5 point over under in this one. The Titans, although very inconsistent this year, have shown in certain spots to be able to generate some offense. And although I thought Will Levis was not going to be healthy for this game, turns out it looks like he's going to play. So with that in mind, I'm going to keep my prediction the same. The Bengals are projected to win. Let's just round up and say 26-21. I'm going to take the Bengals to win 27-20. You got the coach familiarity. This is a game you just got to win. You're a way better team than this Titans team. Even if they do have Will Levis healthy, the coaches should be familiar with each other. It should come down to the quarterback's decisions to win this game. And if Will Levis outduels Joe Burrow, that would be one of the most shocking upsets I've seen in a long time. So once again, Bengals win 27-20, Cincinnati -5 and over 46.5. Moving on to our next game, this is going to be a great one. We have the Miami Dolphins traveling to Houston to take on the Texans. The Texans are 3-point favorites, -3, and there's a 46.5 point total. That would project a Houston win of 24.75 to 21.75. So call it 25-22. Now, this is a very important game because both of these teams have playoff implications. The Texans are 8-5, and they have a 99% chance of making the playoffs. There's probably no one who's going to take the division from them except maybe the Colts, who are 6-7 right now. Now, the Colts, like I said, are 6-7. They're fighting for a wild card spot. And so are the Dolphins. They're 6-7, and they have to win this game if they want to keep their playoff hopes alive. So this is a very important game when it comes to the AFC playoff race. And both teams, I would say at this point in the season, are as healthy as they're going to get, right? I mean, Houston, they're coming off a bye. They've suffered injuries to the offensive line, and they're hoping to get back to the way that they looked in the first 3 weeks of the season when their offensive line was healthy, when Nico Collins was healthy, when Joe Mixon, when they were all on the field. They looked like one of the top 5 teams in the NFL. And the Dolphins, it's a similar story with them. They were missing Tua for, maybe 5 weeks or something like that early on in the season. The offense looked terrible. Well, he's been back, and for the past couple of weeks, this offense has looked really, really good. We know the cold weather factor is definitely something we have to keep in mind for the Dolphins, but they're in Houston, so that's not going to be a problem. So I really went back and forth on this game quite a bit because Houston's defense, although they have a great pass rush, tends to let up a lot of explosive plays due to not being able to tackle well. And if that's going to be the case against this Dolphins team, then the Dolphins are going to score points. So I was really, really close to picking the Dolphins, but you know what? I'm going to go with the Houston Texans to take this one 28-24. I'm going to lean on the coaching staff, the well-roundedness of the entire team. So give me Houston -3 and over 46.5. Can't wait to watch this one. Moving on to our next game. Not quite as interesting. Not as many AFC playoff implications, but this is an AFC matchup between the New York Jets, who are going to Jacksonville to take on the Jaguars. The Jets are 3-point favorites, and there's a 40.5 point total on this one. That would project the Jets win of 22-19 if you round up. And oh boy, it's going to be close somehow still, right? I mean, the Jets are a far better roster than this Jaguars team is. And I would say this is the 2 most dysfunctional teams in the NFL besides the Giants. They're going to be taking on each other. And that explains why, even though the Jaguars they're still starting Mac Jones versus Aaron Rodgers, it's still a 3-point spread. So although that is the case and there's a lot of people down on the Jets, I still don't think the Jets have looked as bad as the Jaguars have looked at their low. The Jets are a better team, so I'm going to take them to win 23-17. Give me Jets -3 and under 40.5. Go cover that spread, Jets. This one you got. Moving on to our next game, we have the Dallas Cowboys going to Carolina to take on the Panthers. Now this, I believe, is the first time in 22 games that the Panthers are favored to win a game. They are a 3-point favorite in this game, Carolina -3, and there's an over-under of 43. So that's going to be an easy projection for me. That's Carolina 23-20. What do I think about that? What would be my projection? I'm going to take Carolina 24-17. I do think, even though the Panthers are 1-3 in their last three matchups and the Cowboys are 2-2, Carolina has played much closer against the tough opponents that they've played, and I'm just a lot more impressed. Bryce Young obviously better than Cooper Rush. A lot of people would have questioned that early on in the season, and you'd be right to, but obviously Bryce has proven that he was not the problem in Carolina all along. So I'm going to take them. I think they're going to cover the spread pretty easily, and look forward to the Panthers getting a dub this week. Moving on to our next game. This is a game of the week contender, maybe even a game of the year contender, but there's just another game later on that we're going to talk about that I think is going to take the cake for that. But we got three great games this week. I mean, this one, the Houston-Miami game, and the third one that we'll get into. I'm so excited for this. But one thing I don't understand is why? Why is the spread the way it is? We got Pittsburgh traveling to Philadelphia. Okay, the Eagles are home, but the Eagles are 5.5-point favorites, and there's an over-under of 43. Now, I think the over-under is a little bit better than the spread, but please tell me why the Eagles should be 5.5-point favorites. I mean, you just look at what's going on with them right now. They didn't look great against the Panthers last week. A.J. Brown is very upset that he hasn't been getting – he's got double-digit targets once since week 1 this year, so he's got a right to be upset. He says that this Eagles team needs to work on their passing game, and he's right. That's what held them back in that Panthers game. And you know what? It's only going to get harder against this Steelers team, right? If the Panthers were able to hold the Eagles to 22 points, what are the Steelers defense? What are they going to be able to do to them, right? So considering the Vegas lines, they're projecting the Eagles to win 24-19. I guess if you think the Eagles are going to win, then that's not like horrible. But like to me, I just think the Steelers are just going to straight up win this game. I mean, if you want the best bet to make in this game, it's totally Pittsburgh plus 5.5. That is one of the easiest bets I'm going to be able to make all year. But I straight up think the Steelers are going to win this game. I mean, you look at what they have done to a very comparable and similar matchup early in the year. They played the Baltimore Ravens. What do they have that's similar to the Eagles? Well, they don't have quite as good of an offensive line. But what they do have is they have Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. So they share that same sort of very challenging run game to defend of having a mobile quarterback mixed with an elite running back. The Steelers were able to hold the Ravens to 16 points in that game. Something big that comes down or that becomes very important when you're playing one of those teams that have a lethal combination of a read option, running back, and quarterback is you need to be able to tackle well, and you need to be able to have gap discipline, right? Because even though they're eliminating one of your players, you can still cover all of the gaps, right? It takes time for these plays to develop, and if everybody has good play recognition, you can get to those spots, and instead of Lamar bending the edge up the sideline, you tackle him for a 2-yard gain. You just have to be disciplined the whole game to make that happen. And I think the Eagles have been allowing other teams to beat themselves, and I don't think the Steelers are going to do that in this game. So I think they're going to win 21-18. Give me Pittsburgh plus 5.5 and give me under 43. Moving on to our next game, we have the Indianapolis Colts traveling to Denver to take on the Broncos. The Broncos are 4.5-point favorites, and there's an over-under of 44. So this is another game that has playoff implications. The Broncos are 8-5, but they currently reside as the 7th seed in the AFC playoffs because the Chargers are also 8-5, and they have some sort of tiebreaker. And then, of course, the Chiefs are winning the division. Now, there's 3 hungry teams below them that are trying to fight for that possible 7th seed. And the only way that the Broncos are going to lose it is if they give it up, right? The Colts are 6-7, the Dolphins are 6-7, the Bengals are 5-8. Right? So one of these 3 teams would essentially have to win out, and the Broncos would have to accumulate 3 losses over the next 4 weeks in order for that to happen. So the Colts are looking at this game, and they're thinking, man, if we can win this game, not only do we bring ourselves one step closer, but we bring who we need to jump one step down, right? So this is a huge game for this Colts team, right? Anthony Richardson's been looking a little better recently, and I think they're going to have a shot, right? But you know what? Denver's coming off a bye week. Bo Nix has shown that he is much more than a rookie quarterback, and his chemistry and ability to learn from a coach as smart and well-prepared as Sean Payton has been very apparent this year. So I think despite how bad Indianapolis is going to want this one, I just think it isn't going to line up right for them. And similar to Miami, they're going to take an L here. Denver's going to win 24-20. So that's going to be Indianapolis plus 4.5. but I have a no bet on the over under. It's just kind of what I think the score is going to be like. I could see it being a little higher scoring than this, but that's just what I'm taking. Denver 24-20. Moving on to our next game, we have the New England Patriots at the Arizona Cardinals. Now the Cardinals are favored in this one, Arizona -6. And there's an over-under of 46.5. Pretty high over-under for a Patriots game. Typically, they hit the unders. Now, the Cardinals very badly and desperately need this one. They're projected to win 26.25 to 20.25. It's just a must-have for them, right? I mean, you look at the playoff race, and the Rams have now moved up to 8-6, right? They've knocked the 49ers down to 6-8. So one of them was gonna move up. I guess you would have preferred it to stay 7-7 to 7-7 between the two of them, but this is what the reality is now. So the Cardinals need to win this game. They need to get to 7-7 and essentially win out if they want to make the playoffs, because even that might not be enough. I mean, the Cardinals only have an 11% chance to make it in, and that's probably because the Commanders need to pretty much lose out in order for them to get in. Also, the Rams, you could compete for the division, but the Seahawks are 8-5. We'll talk about their game later, but it's looking a little unlikely that the Cardinals will be able to make it into the playoffs. But either way, they have to win this game, and I'm going to take them to win. But I'll take the Patriots to cover the spread. Give me the Cardinals to win 23-21. That's going to be the under, and that's going to be New England +6. Moving on to our next game, and this one has the game of the year potential. We saw it last week, a game that looked like it had that potential, and it did not disappoint. The Lions took on the Packers in an absolute shootout, and it came down to the wire. And how much fun was that? It got followed up by the Bills and the Rams, who then proceeded to have a game of the year of their own. As the Rams upset the Bills, I believe it was 44-42, and Josh Allen, despite all of his attempts, scoring 6 touchdowns, could not seal the deal. So now we have two teams who have had a game of the year in the week prior coming to take each other on, and it's going to be at Detroit. Detroit is favored by 2.5 in this game, and there's a 54.5 point total. Wow. This game is going to be fireworks all over the place. We got the Lions offense. We got Dan Campbell making gutsy calls on 4th down. And then on the other side, we're going to have Josh Allen, who, of course, they make gutsy calls of their own with him on 4th down. And, of course, he can make any play you could ask a quarterback to make. He's been just incredible this year. So this is going to be a highly anticipated matchup. We got NFC versus an AFC, Super Bowl contender versus Super Bowl hopeful. A lot is going to be taken away from this game in the coming weeks. So to me, it's going to be pretty difficult to predict the score in this game, although I do think the over is going to hit, and I do think it is going to be a shootout. Who exactly is going to win because of it is tough to say. Both teams are gutsy and they go for it on 4th down. It's going to really come down to whoever's got the ball last. Are they going to get themselves into field goal position and get that game-winning field goal? What's going to happen? We don't know, but I got my take for you. I think the Lions are due for a loss. Look at the teams that the Lions have been playing recently, and I would say the last team that really tested them was the Houston Texans. I believe in that game, Jared Goff threw 5 interceptions, and they were still able to come out on top with the win. In that game, the Texans were up 23-7 at half, and then they shut them out for the whole second half. And then the Lions proceeded to score 19 points of their own and come away with the win. Recently, we saw them play the Packers. Obviously, Jordan Love tested their defense. Matt LaFleur calls a great offense, and they have a great offensive roster. But I think there's no reason the Bills can't do the exact same thing. If the Packers were able to score 31 points from the Packers, then I could see the Bills scoring 31 at least, right? I would actually anticipate that. And the Lions, well, the Bills defense obviously looked horrible last week, so I would expect the Lions offense to be on that same sort of, it's really hard for the Bills to stop them. But nonetheless, I'm going to take the Bills to win this game, 35-34. I think Josh Allen's going to get it done, get a signature win, kind of bounce back after last week. He's on fire. As long as the defense can get one stop or one turnover, that's all they're going to need to put themselves in position to win this game. And I can't wait to watch this one. Moving on to our next game, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers traveling to Los Angeles to take on the Chargers. Chargers are 2.5 point favorites, and there's a 45.5 point over under. So that would project a Chargers win of 24-21.5. So this is going to be another great game. The Chargers, people have given them crap because they haven't played the most difficult schedule and they don't have like a lot of signature wins or anything, but they've been very, very steady, right? Their floor is up there. They don't lose games. They just win games when other teams mess up. And this Bucks team has got potential to do that. But you know what? They're 7-6 and they're hungry for a playoff spot too. So even though the Chargers have, they would appear to be a better team, they're 8-5, and the Buccaneers are 7-6. I just think this is just a game that the Bucks are going to come out with. I mean, the Bucks are not like some average team that you can just show up against, not make any mistakes and beat. Like you actually have to excel at something. And I'm not saying the Chargers don't have the ability to do that. I just think this is just going to be one of those games where it just gets away from them, right? You got to have a loss like this where you should have won, but the other team just gets the best of you. And I think considering that the situation with both teams kind of fighting for playoff seeding or trying to get in, I just think the Bucks are going to come out on top. They're a little bit more desperate. So it should be a great game, but give me the Bucks to win 24-23, Tampa Bay plus 2.5 and over 45.5. And now we have our primetime game. We have the Packers traveling to Seattle, 12th man, to take them on. And they're going to be 2.5-point favorites, Green Bay minus 2.5. And there's a 45.5-point over under. Now, the Seahawks, for those of you who don't know, are 8-5, and they currently hold first place in their division, the NFC West, which makes them the third seed in the playoffs. The Packers are not winning their division, but they are 9-4. The Vikings are 11-2, and the Lions are 12-1. They reside ahead of them. But so you could look at the record and say the Packers are better. You could look at the seeding, whatever you want to look at. But these are two very similar teams when it comes to where they reside in the playoffs. Now, as I stated, the Packers are 2.5-point favorites with the 45.5-point over under. That would project a Packers win of 24-21.5. And I think that's a little bit low scoring. I think we're going to see some fireworks in this game. But this Seahawks defense has been very legit. It has been very legit recently. But you know what? I just think this could be the game where I'm not saying the dam breaks or anything, but just Matt LaFleur's got a little bit more answers than the teams that they've faced the past couple of weeks. I mean, two of the last 3 games they've played have been against the Cardinals, so the sample is not quite as abundant as it would seem when people are talking about how they're top 5 in every defensive category since their bye week. I understand, but versing the Packers is not the same as versing the Cardinals. It's going to be very costly for Seattle if they lose this game too, because as we explained before, the Rams are roaring back. So if the Seahawks lose this game, they're going to be tied with the Rams, right? And then there's going to be tiebreakers, and who knows who's going to be taking the division at that point. But as I stated, I think the Packers are going to win 27-24. I think we see some big plays from Jaden Reed and Christian Watson, big time throws from Jordan Love, and then they're going to run the ball, of course, with Josh Jacobs. And they're going to hope to, handedly win this game. I do have them covering the spread only because 2.5 is just sometimes you just got to take it. It could be, I wouldn't blame you if you took Seattle plus 2.5. But, I'm just rolling with Packers going to win by a field goal. I think they're hot. They're hotter than the Seahawks are right now. Moving on to Monday night. We got 2 games this week. And it's going to start things off with the Chicago Bears at the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings are 6.5-point favorites. That's a touchdown. And there's a 43.5-point over under. So that would project a Vikings win of 25-18.5. So the Vikings have number 1 seed potential this year. They're 1 game behind the Lions. The Lions have a tough part of their schedule. Obviously, they just got by the Packers. They got the Bills this week. If the Vikings can win this game, then they are going to be tied. I believe they play the Vikings they play the Lions one more time before the season's end. Yeah, for the last week of the season, that could be to decide the 1 seed. So even though this is a game that they're heavily favored in, it's a must win. It's a divisional game. They cannot lose this one. And you know what? The Bears, they just can't win games anyway. I mean, they haven't been able to put it together all year. They fired Matt Eberflus. They're pretty dysfunctional, not as bad as the Jaguars and Jets and Giants, but considering their level of talent and their lack of ability to succeed this year, they just can't win games, and the Vikings have been the total opposite. So give me the Vikings to win, but 26-20. So I will take Chicago to cover the spread. I didn't go well for me last week. We'll see how this week goes. And then I'm going over 43.5, just barely. But yeah, that's going to be my take for that game. Excited to watch it, right? People are hating on me for my takes on the Vikings, but you know what? I do support the underdog, Sam Darnold. I'm all for it. I'm just, when it comes to me actually putting my take out there, I'm not going to fall for, emotional weight when it's like I'm rooting for an underdog and putting him above a guy who's proven it before. that's just why I'm hesitant, right? I don't hate the Vikings. I want to see them do good. I like a lot of the players on their team, but we're just taking it 1 week at a time, right? And when we get to the playoffs, we can reevaluate things. And then moving on, we have our last game this week, and this is going to be the Atlanta Falcons taking on the Las Vegas Raiders. The Falcons are only 4-point favorites, and there's a 44-point over under. So that would project an easy projection of Atlanta 24-20. What is my take? I think the Falcons are going to win this game 28-21. This is going to be a Desmond Ridder revenge game. Aiden Connell and Gardner Minshew are both now injured for the Las Vegas Raiders, and they're starting Desmond Ridder. Like I said, revenge game. Was it the Falcons or was it Ridder? Who was really the problem? It was probably Ridder, but we'll see. If Ridder plays one good game this season, he's got 4 weeks to prove himself. It's going to be this one, right? So can Kirk catch his feet against a bad Raiders team? I certainly hope so for his sake, because he looks really, really bad. If he doesn't perform well in this game, that could be bench worthy, right? You're just getting around to the playoffs. The Bucs are breathing down your neck. They actually have first place in the division right now. And you have, I don't think you should be scared of the Panthers or the Saints, but you're basically fighting it out for them. And they've been here before. They've made the playoffs in these tough situations. And honestly, they've looked better against a larger sample of teams than the Falcons have had. But you know what? What a great opportunity to catch your feet. Go score 4 touchdowns, Kirk Cousins, and win this game 28-21. So that would be Atlanta -4 and over 44. If you did make it this far, thank you so much for watching. And please support me further. Leave a like on the video and tell me in the comments, Seahawks and Packers, who's going to win that one? Did I get it right? Do you agree? You think the Packers? And when it comes to Bills, Lions, what a great game that's going to be. I mean, anyone's take is as good as yours, but do you think I'm right? Do you think the Bills have a chance? Miami and Houston. I really, really wanted to pick Miami, but you know what? I rolled with Houston. Do you think Miami's got upset potential? And then the Steelers and the Eagles. That's going to be a great game, but don't you think that 5.5-point spread's too much? Bucks Chargers, that's just gonna be a great game. I took the Bucks. Some people are gonna take the Chargers. It is what it is. Tell me what you think in the comments about all those games. There's a lot to talk about this week. And please, if you aren't already, you don't want to miss more of these videos, subscribe right now. This being my first year on YouTube, the support has been a very, very new feeling, and it's honestly been incredible. We're already above 130 subscribers. I posted a lot of videos this week and last week, and it's been showing. You guys have been responding, and it makes me so grateful for every single one of you. So until next time, that's all my videos for this week. Now we get to enjoy our Sunday tomorrow, and we get to put some of these bets in, and we get to make some money, right? I'm still 138 correct money line picks, and now it's 139. So once again, thank you all so much for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.